Hardly a week goes by, then I hear some interesting tale of a person who bought a home in Florida, particularly in Orlando, and absolutely hated it. Months later, go through the time and expense. And expense, my friends, it is enormously costly to move twice, especially within the same year. That's why if you're buying a home in Orlando, particularly in this post-pandemic era, you really need to make sure that you do not make the costly mistake of buying a home that you do not absolutely love, does not match your lifestyle, and won't fit you for years to come. And there's a few unique barriers to Florida. We are a high storm-prone state. We have a high amount of information that any buyer needs on the hidden pitfalls of buying here, on the hidden costs of ownership, and just what is it? There's different factors that affect each buyer based on their specific location they're gonna end up, age of house, all those unique factors matter, and they're different case by case. As a longtime broker and Orlando native, and having helped nearly 4,000 satisfied transactions of helping people buy and sell and make good decisions, I have a bank of the most common questions that any buyer, this is any buyer for Orlando, if you're coming into the area, if you live here now, you're looking to buy something else, these are the questions you need to process, and I'm gonna help give you some things to think about within the context of each of those questions so that you do not hit a pitfall that is disastrous, that may cause you years of agony from a bad decision, and in turn you end up with a home you love for years to come. Let's get into it. Number one question I get, where should I live in Orlando? And honestly, location is number one before you even talk about the house you're gonna buy. The first big decision in Orlando is, do you commute or do you remote work? And I'm gonna tell you up front, Google Maps is your best friend. You always wanna check travel times if you are going to go to work. And I got to tell you up front, in Orlando, you're going to need a car. We have Sunrail, we have buses, but Orlando is just not built for public transit. I'd venture that 98% of our locals own a car and drive daily. And some other things you need to know, Orlando has predictable afternoon bottlenecks. Expect 90 minutes to 2 hours of really some tricky time if you have to come home during that time frame. If you are a commuter, you're going to want to live near the 429, which starts around I-4 in the south near Disney, loops all the way to the north near Apopka, and loops back towards the center part of town to the north, hits the 417, drops all the way back down the east side. We have a lot of different freeways with limited lights, limited exits across the middle of town as well that are very popular to live near. We have the 414 to the north, we have the 408 down the middle of town, the 528 a little bit south of that. All of them, including the former loop I mentioned around town, run really great nearly all day long. Now, I-4, on the other hand, is sometimes a nightmare. The express lane runs from around Universal all the way to the north of town, will make the trip feel much different, but you're going to pay a toll to be on that. Now, a word of caution, some of our fastest growing suburbs are either poorly designed, leading to major bottlenecks. Some of them are just chasing the infrastructure goals. They're just building a lot of houses and the roads aren't there to support it. By the way, if you're in those areas, drop down in the comments and warn people. If you're living in an area near Disney, expect major congestion in the afternoon. And I will add to that Florida is unique. We obviously have weird flood-prone areas, low land, swampy kind of stuff that builders are building around. And sometimes there's just areas that are super limited in terms of what traffic infrastructure can be added. And if you are thinking of moving here, me and my team can pick the right location based on your commute, your lifestyle, and proximity to family. Make sure that those are not terrible areas to commute from. Speaking of traffic, some people prioritize beach access when they're moving to Central Florida. I'm going to tell you, really no matter where you live, if you're going from Orlando to the East Coast, you're going to find a 45 to an hour and 15-minute drive almost anywhere in town. And most places in Orlando, it's going to take you about 90 minutes to get to the Tampa side beaches. My own personal advice, if the beaches aren't a daily commute, I wouldn't prioritize that as far as how you pick trying to live on the far east or the far west. Buy a home in a neighborhood you like. The beaches are reasonably convenient no matter where you live. The next question we're going to answer is, Jared, where can I buy a home based on the class of buyer that I'm at? Now, I'm going to talk about luxury buyers, first-time home buyers, and what we call the mid-range or the move-up buyer. This is someone that's probably owned a home somewhere else, moving on to the next home. Usually this is going to be a mid-range price point. Now, the areas we're focusing on is the Orlando metro area. We're talking about convenient travel suburbs of Seminole County, Orange County, Osceola, South Lake, and North Polk counties. Now, understand this, the median price across all of these areas is $425,000. So we would have to then class our first-time home buyer or entry price bracket for a house from $300,000 to $525,000. That is one of the largest buying pools, and that's the kind of budget you're planning for at the entry side of the market for a home in this area. Now, the first county we'll mention that actually doesn't have a supply of houses in this price range is Seminole County. It has the smallest supply of all the counties, with 1/10 of all their available mix fitting in this price point. This is areas like Winter Springs, Winter Park. It's largely outside of the budget. But who has homes? Osceola County, nearly 30%, number one spot of all of this price point is found here. This is largely St. Cloud and Kissimmee. Second to Osceola is North Polk County. We're talking about the city of Davenport. We're talking about Champions Gate. Obviously, a big mix of this is permanent residence and short-term rental. And again, this area following Osceola has the largest per capita share of homes that you'll find in this price bracket. Behind Polk is South Lake County. However, I will say it is shrinking and becoming more expensive as Claremont grows in our northwest part of the region here in Orlando. Hey, it's me interrupting myself. Are you looking to buy or sell? One call does it all, and you'll put 23 years of experience and nearly 4,000 satisfied home sales to work for you.
Jared Jones is the way to go. Call 706-5000.
The next location is what we call the move-up category. This is a person that's actually owned a home before, moving equity to another home. This is oftentimes people relocating into the area because they sold a home in New Jersey or California or Washington. Now, folks in this particular category are buying in the $525,000 single family home price up to $1.1 million. Now, out of nearly 9,400 active homes for sale across the Orlando metro area, this would represent 34% of the entire housing stock. And as we talk about where this housing stock is, we have to start with number one, Orange County. This is the county seat for the city of Orlando. This also includes hyper interesting locations for people in this price category from areas like Lake Nona on the east and living south of UCF and Avalon Park and all points in between. You have Conway down the middle of town. You have the west side with Winter Garden, Horizon West, burgeoning high growth areas with inventory here like Windermere and living around Disney World and Dr. Phillips and all the way up to Apopka. This is going to have a large supply of inventory for this particular price category. The next county on the list is going to be South Lake County. We're talking about Claremont, Mineola, and Groveland. And this area has a high interest level from folks that are living here and wanting a 55 plus community, or folks that want to live near water. There's beautiful chains of lakes here that are an absolute, some of the most beautiful waters in the entire Central Florida area. And it's much more price reachable than some of the areas if you're trying to live near a chain of lakes in the middle of Orlando. But folks here also love the beautiful topography. You've got incredible areas like Sugarloaf Mountain. Yes, there's an area in Central Florida that actually has mountain in the title because we're largely the flattest state in the union. County number 3 on that list would be Seminole County. And just like we talked about in the entry price point, Seminole County does not have a very large housing stock, even for this range of home buyer. But I will tell you, this area is very interesting to the move-up buyer as well, even though it finds itself third on the list with a limited supply chain here. Next up is Osceola County, and I'll say Osceola County actually rivals Seminole County in its total move-up category price range. And a huge slice of that category in Osceola County is short-term rental market, resort communities with 6 to 8 bedroom homes that have pools behind every single one, and a resort amenity offers with large pools and water parks and all that kind of thing, which again is not exactly a permanent resident class of homes. However, considering Osceola County, you do have Celebration. This is a very popular town for this price category, and I would also like to honorably mention that St. Cloud is growing in this county. So St. Cloud is going to become, I think, a larger growing segment of the move-up market in this county for the near future. Very good growth prospect for the south side of the Orlando metro. Next up, we're going to talk about the luxury home price market. This is buyers that are thinking of spending anywhere from $1.5 million to over $15 million in price. And about 10% of the inventory in Orlando lives in this price bracket. You're talking around 900 homes. Now, at the very top of this list, we're going to be talking about Winter Park. Winter Park has the absolute highest average price in the entire area. It is very desirable from the aspect of having top-rated schools, beautiful lakefront properties, walkable downtown excess. It is basically the full trifecta. Now, nearly laterally desirable, we would talk about Windermere next. This is going to be a smaller downtown area excellent school options, a huge inventory of exclusive communities for the luxury market, amazing estates, and a lake life that has some of the best waterfront homes in the entire area. Next to the east side, you have luxury buyers flocking to Lake Nona, a master plan, new suburb, super close to the airport, has beautiful golf and lakefront estates as well. Luxury park buyers that love the theme parks and an easier commute are looking at Dr. Phillips. You've got Bay Hill here, home to PJ Tour events. Next door, you've got Golden Oak and the ability to actually live on Disney property. Beyond these communities, there is a litany of areas around the downtown Orlando area that I could go on about that will provide a variety of properties from walkability to historic that we're going to cover even later in this video. By the way, I just did a data deep dive on where the luxury live in Orlando. I have a full analysis of the areas where we sell most of this real estate so you can understand if you're looking to buy in this particular class, what it's like in the various parts and what each area has to offer. I'll link that in the description below. Jared, where is the best place to buy a second home or an Airbnb in Orlando? This is a common question. Theme parks attract tons of people around the world. They come and visit and they end up saying, you know what? I'd like the idea of owning one of these houses, these 6-8 bedroom homes that I could come and stay a few weeks or a few months out of the year where it's really cold, where I live full time. I can come and stay and get out of the weather. And while I'm not staying here, someone else could be paying my property off full time. Understand this, there are some really great places to buy these types of properties in the Orlando area, and there's some really terrible ones. I will also tell you that ready to go, ready to lease Airbnb in optimal areas represents about 6% of the total housing market. So that's about 550 homes that match that criteria set. So understand, buying the right place that matches your interests and your goals and your objectives is paramount, and everybody's situation is subjective. So me and my team are here to help. We can walk through your specific goals and match you up with the very best that Orlando has to offer if you're looking for a second home here. Where is the best place to buy a mid or high-rise condo in Orlando? Well, mid or high-rise has been an interesting topic because of the Surfside condo collapse in Miami. We had the legislature then invoke what was called milestone inspections for buildings that were above 3 floors and that were over 30 years of age. Well, unlike Miami and Tampa, Orlando's condo market that is actually sensitive to the law changes is a tiny segment of 1%. It's actually 0.4% of our inventory. And I would venture a further guess that only a few locations are even facing the law change. The reason this is the case is that a lot of the mid and high-rise inventory was developed in the early 2000s, really from 2000 to 2010. So most of those buildings are approaching 20 years of age, and they have time to prepare for these changes in the law. So while there's a lot of concern for the law change, I believe that most of the Florida properties will have plenty of room on time to not have surprises to deal with these situations. But there are some beautiful high amenity options if you are looking for this kind of lifestyle. Most of it's in downtown Orlando. You've got bird's eye iconic waterfront views of downtown at locations like Waverly at Lake Eola on Central Boulevard, or the View on East Robinson. And the price point for this lifestyle is pretty reachable. You're gonna have smaller condos starting around $200,000 up to units in the penthouse range that will be approaching the $1 million price point. Jared, I do not want an HOA, a homeowners association. Well, as of today, nearly 10,000 homes for sale, 3,900 homes of all the homes, any age, any price, are not in an HOA. That's 60% of the homes that are available are actually in an HOA. If you take a subset of all of the real estate that is 10 years old or newer, this is our newer category of homes, you're only going to find 90 houses in almost 10,000 homes that are in that category. So the rest of the 3,900 homes are older than 10 years. Get this, of that caliber of home, 1/3 of it is older than 1975. So the majority of the non-HOA inventory is built between 1975 and somewhere around 2010 at any price point. Look, I get it. I know and understand the issues that people have with HOA. I will tell you that we can find homes with HOAs or deed restrictions that have minimal restrictions on your life regardless. There are ways to find associations that are more lax so you do not have to have issues and still end up in the house you want. The bottom line though, if you do not have the budget strength, you have no chance of avoiding an HOA and getting a newer home. And if you're in the entry price market, you will save on the HOA monthly fees, but you will have to sign up for a much smaller pool of available homes and something that has likely time and age on it. So you might have to worry more for upkeep and energy efficiency and possibly maintain higher monthly insurance cost. Regardless of the drawback, my team and I can help you find the right home, even with, again, the deed restrictions and HOA, and make sure the home is perfect for you without an overly onerous situation where an HOA is impinging on your life. The next common question is, should I buy a resale home or a new construction home in Orlando? Let's talk about the differences. Well, number one, location. New homes in Orlando are on the outskirts, so to speak, the outer suburban areas of the Orlando market. This is going to lead to longer commutes, possibly to the downtown areas. Existing homes are in more established areas. Now, with a new home, you're going to have a potential of a more chance to customize the home. You're going to have a modern layout, newer building codes. With resales, you're going to have a home with history. It's been lived in. There's obviously plenty of stories with people that bought a new home, were the first occupants, and were met with all kinds of surprises. But with a resale, you might find a home that needs upgrading, but in the purchasing process, you're going to have more negotiating power versus what you'll have in the new construction market. With new homes, you'll wait to get one. Across Orlando, you'll be waiting anywhere from 6 months to close to 2 years to finish a new construction home. On a resale, you won't have to wait for construction delays, and you're going to expect to close on that home in 35 days. Now, many out-of-towners coming to Orlando are hyper concerned about the protection from storms. Understand this, our building codes haven't changed too much over the past 20 years. Florida's coastal areas, where you're thinking about all these areas where the house have to have hurricane windows, people often ask those questions right up front. We do not have those kinds of standards because strong storms that can even come in as a category 4 or 5 are much weaker by the time they get here. New homes are the easy champ when it comes to energy efficiency, but don't despair. If you love the character and maturity and security of a resale, you can also easily get to very efficient energy. Number one, it's air conditioning. That's nearly half of the battle for our home cost here in Florida when it relates to energy. Appliances come second, water heaters, pool pumps, making sure you have energy efficient homes, making sure your home isn't leaking air. But I'm telling you, resale homes can easily win the battle on energy efficiency as well. Jared, what are the property taxes, HOA fees, other hidden costs with buying a home in Florida, particularly in Orlando? This is a very important question that I get quite a bit. Let's start with property taxes. What can you expect? Well, purchase price of whatever you buy times 1.3% will give you a very good view of what you're likely to pay in year one across whatever purchase you make. Now, if you're in above the $1 million mark, you're going to use 1.1% of sale price. Next question I will get is, Jared, how much do property taxes typically increase in Florida and Orlando? Well, we have what's called a homestead exemption, which saves you $50,000 in the valuation of your home, which will lower your out-of-pocket every year by $600. The second thing, and very important thing that homestead exemption will do, is it will cap the amount of growth on your property in terms of tax by 3%. So they can only raise in high surge when years where home property values went up really, really fast, protected owners from having their taxes skyrocket from underneath them. An interesting thing right now is Governor DeSantis is actually discussing tripling the homestead exemption, which would save Florida homeowners nearly $2,000 if it is enacted. The other thing you want to consider, prices of homes are stabilizing in Florida. So I believe in the years ahead, you expect a stabilizing property tax. But again, that homestead exemption is going to help no matter what happens to property value. Next question are hidden costs. Jared, are there Melloroos or special assessments? Now, something we could possibly say is a hidden fee is what's called the CDD fee. Now, regardless of what it's called where you're from in Florida, a CDD is a community development district. It's commonly amount between $1,200 and $2,400 a year that kind of rolls on top of your taxes. In some cases, there is a portion of it that can be paid off in 20 or 30 years. And there's some cases where it does not, and it goes on. And each amount is different. But we see this fee most commonly in Osceola and Polk County, usually on newer homes or homes up to about 15 years old. So make sure you consider this in these areas because most likely in this category, there's a lot of folks buying in the entry category with payment sensitivity, and this will play a factor in your total payment. Jared, what about all these homes I'm seeing on the market with solar panels on them? Well, understand that homes sold with solar panels often have ongoing terms. It means the owner bought them, they put them on a 20-year note, for instance, and even though you may have nearly next to nothing on a power bill, you might actually have a payment on the solar plant. Now, You might consider this a very important part of the sale. A lot of people like solar. You love the idea that it'll be one day paid off and will one day produce all of your power. It's an asset. And in many cases, you can strike gold on a home with solar panels, like one I closed last week for an owner that ended up having a fully paid off Tesla system on the home already. Buyer paid a reasonable price at closing, and the home already had a $36,000 system that was put on about 6 years prior, and the owner had paid it off rapidly to my client's benefit. Next, what's going on with the insurance crisis in Orlando? I've been chronicling this crazy journey since probably around 2022, where we had our insurance rates. They went absolutely crazy. People were getting quoted $10,000 to $20,000 per year. Our average rates went through the roof, and ultimately there was a lot of fraud. There was a lot of lawsuits. Florida had a crazy problem on its hands. We are on the opposite end of that now. It is night and day different. It is much lower to get a policy. It's much easier to get approved than 2 to 3 years ago. And here again, I'm talking about Central Florida specifically. If you're on the coast and you don't have the same experience, it is what it is. On a median priced home across Orlando, kind of like your average single family, you can expect a $1,700 to $1,800 per year policy. And it's important I say that because a lot of people I talk to around the country coming in to buy mid-range or even $1 million home, and they're expecting $8,000-$10,000 a year in insurance, and that is far from likely. To give you a better understanding of what you just might be in for insurance, if you're looking at Orlando, take the purchase price times 0.6% to understand what your annual policy will be. Now, if you're looking at $700,000 in price or above, you're going to take 0.4% times the purchase price, might even be a little bit less than that. But that's for Central Florida. If you go to other counties on the coast, it might be a different factor. Hey, I'm interrupting myself to ask you, are you thinking of buying or selling a home? Make one call, that's all, and put my 23 years of experience in nearly 4,000 sold homes to work for you. Just like your budget, your lifestyle goals are going to govern where you want to live. So let's talk about some different locations that match exactly who you are. Where are the areas of Orlando with high walkability? All right, you want to be close to it all? You can't overlook these areas. First, let's talk about Winter Park. You're going to be close to many area parks. You're going to have famed Park Avenue and Winter Park Village shops. Next in the conversation has to be College Park. This area is going to be more reachable than Winter Park on price point for historic homes that are in walkable distance to Edgewater Drive. You have places like Thornton Park, which is historic and walkable urban village, known for brick-lined streets and historic bungalows with very high walkability. It's close to Lake Eola, downtown nightlife, dining, and shops. You have Delaney Park, which is a quiet historic residential area with great downtown access. This is one of Orlando's oldest neighborhoods, featuring classic bungalows and estate homes. You're going to find large tree-lined streets here with parks. Again, it's close to downtown, so you obviously have hospitals and the best healthcare around. There's less commercial activity here, but it's quick access to SoDo and downtown Orlando. Also in the conversation, Baldwin Park. This is a new urbanist, walkable suburban destination. It's a master plan community with a small town feel, but very close to downtown Orlando and Winter Park. Highly walkable with townhomes and apartments and single-family homes mixed in. You've got a walkable retail area with restaurants and parks integrated within the community. To the west, we have Oakland Park, designed with a traditional neighborhood feel, but surrounded by nature. You got beautiful tree-lined streets, large green spaces, and lake views. Community is top of the list in this community. You have the Orange Bike Trail going straight through it, and you're just minutes away from famed Plant Street here in downtown Winter Garden by bike or golf cart right from your door. People appreciate Oakland Park when they want a less dense feel from a Baldwin Park or Avalon Park. Next, you have Laureate Park, which is a contemporary design community located in Lake Nona's High Tech District. This is urban inspired, but still suburban, with townhomes and modern single-family homes and apartments as well. Where should I live in Orlando if I love to golf? Well, Orlando's theme park and resort scene offers a promise that you could live here for years and not do the same thing 2 days in a row. And this track record serves the golf enthusiast as well, as there are around 200 golfing destinations across the greater Orlando area. And even better news when you're talking real estate, you can live on many of them. And for the average buyer for homes, there are many beautiful communities with reachable price points. We're talking Stony Brook East or West, or Orange National in the Horizon West area. Lake Nona's Eagle Creek has been a time-tested area golf course that offers a lot of great real estate options from mid-range to luxury price points. The sophisticated buyer with luxury taste will find Lake Nona Country Club to have unmatched natural beauty and amazing amenities. In the west, you have Isleworth and Keens Point in the Windermere area that will have a stunning blend of some of the best waterfronting estates and some of the best golf courses in all of Central Florida right at home. Where should I live if I love the theme parks? Well, no secret, Orlando is home to Disney adults and kids alike. And if you do not want to spend a lot of time getting to and from the parks to keep that one-way drive around 20 minutes, theme park enthusiasts buy in Dr. Phillips in Windermere and Horizons West or Hunters Creek. All of these are just off Disney property and offer a nice variety of options to call home. Where are the best schools in Orlando? Well, educating our next generation is a key focus of Orlando, and nearly all of these areas I've mentioned on this video so far have specialized academic features. We're talking immersive language. Bilingual education has become very popular. You have international baccalaureate programs and advanced academics now offered through several Orlando public schools to help with college readiness. We have several strong options for SIEM and tech-focused schools as well. For families who prioritize arts and performance education, we have several exceptional schools like Osceola County School for the Arts, one of Florida's top-performing art schools. You have Rollins College offering an excellent pre-college program for arts and music. Orlando is home to a host of charter and magnet schools featuring smaller class sizes and focus on learning paths. Depending on your focus, my team and I can help you craft a plan to make sure your family lives in a school district that fits your child's education pathway and make sure that you love where you live as well. Where should I live in Orlando if I travel a lot? Well, let's assume you're a jet setter and the family is going to be going a lot, or you travel for work and you need to get to the airport conveniently. Well, if you want easy access to OIA and live in the downtown areas, you're going to be considering downtown Orlando, Winter Park, or Maitland. Well, maybe you have a child planning to go to UCF or Rollins College. Maybe you're thinking of being at the beach a lot at the same time. You're going to be east side of town, maybe Oviedo or the Alafaya area. Maybe you want to travel with local lake life. You're going to pick maybe Conway, St. Cloud, or Lake Nona. All those areas will work. And if traveling is a priority for you, my team and I could fit the very best locations, match it to your lifestyle, and make sure you can get to the airport with as little hassle as possible. Where are the best places to live in Orlando for the best healthcare and medical options? Well, hands down, the top two destinations for this are going to be downtown Orlando and Medical City in Lake Nona. Hands down, any ranked list, we're going to put these at the very top for having the best collections of specialties and services that you can find in the area. But obviously know this, living in the downtown area or even near Lake Nona is not for everyone. And you should also know that Advent Health and Orlando Health is spending a lot of money, millions of dollars in new projects in the key suburbs around town. So while those are the top two, there are some phenomenal third and fourth and fifth options that just might be better fit for you. What is Orlando's weather and natural disaster risk truly? Well, let's start with winter because, it's so short around here. We will see during December and January some cool nights in the 50s and daytimes in the 60s. And through that time, January forward through the spring, you might see some sporadic cold fronts, but we barely ever see any freezing temperatures. And we tell the people up north, please don't touch the thermostat while you're here. Now, summer heat is going to start mid to late May, and it's going to close out somewhere close to October. And ultimately, from October all the way to May, we really have great weather most of the time. But for sure, that May to September stretch is warm, and at that time, most likely pretty humid. So those are the times you're going to be running the air conditioner, running to the beach, and probably hitting the water parks. But I will say that our hottest days are most likely around 97, 98 degrees. It's rarely warmer than that. Now let's talk extreme weather. Extreme weather in Orlando is hardly the topic of conversation in the realm of Florida being blown off the map by a Category 5. Storm surge on the coast is the worst danger of these storms, full stop. By the time it hits to Orlando, the worst we actually see is in the Category 1 range, which is a decent storm, but flooding is our biggest damage risk in our area, and you can avoid that if you just don't buy a property in a flood zone. And understand this, most of the real estate options across Orlando are not built in floodplains. Second to flooding on damage concerns and much lower down the risk scale is a tree causing damage to your home. Trees in Central Florida are beautiful. Many of our cities want to keep as many of them to retain the beauty. And if you buy a home under a large tree, you simply call an arborist. We have a large population of them who can help make sure you minimize any risk to your home and still have the natural beauty around it. So understand this, the most common, strongest storm that we see coming through Florida, by the time it makes landfall and comes to Orlando, there are no calls for evacuation for our area because the storm has just grown much weaker by the time it's covered that much territory to get to us. What is Orlando's job and economic future like? Well, as of February 2025, the unemployment rate in Orlando, Florida was 2.8%, which is lower than the long-term average for the area, 5.37%. Also, 2.8% is a good stride lower. The national average right now is running 4%. And against the state of Florida at large, state of Florida is running a 3.4% pace of unemployment. The sun is shining on Orlando in so many ways, and a constant pace of hiring and expansion is feeding an ever-growing need for jobs in the area. So those are the top questions I get from people buying a home or relocating to Orlando. Hopefully this helped you feel more prepared for the process. And let me know if I missed anything. If you have insights additional that I didn't mention here, drop in the comments and let's continue the discussion there. And if you appreciate the time and detail and the work that went into this, do me a huge favor, smash the thumbs up below, absolutely free and helps the channel. And if you want more in-depth updates on the Orlando market and real estate data and economic news, continue subscribing to the channel. And my team and I are constantly hearing from you about buying or selling in Orlando. We're so grateful for the trust that you give us. And if we can help, reach out to us. And if not, I'll point you in the right direction. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.